Yeah, come right on down the front. Pick this next small group. We can do with this no problem at all. All right, so welcome to Red Path Sugar as part of the Outdoors Open Experience. I'm Richard Felto. I'm the curator for the Red Path Sugar Museum, which is part of one of the stops you're going to be doing this morning. 5 days a week, my normal job is to deal with the public like yourself in groups or individually, talking about the history of sugar, the history of the company, the production, and all the rest of it. For Doors Open, we've expanded things slightly. I will be here to talk a little bit about things on the historical side in the museum. But we also have technicians and people from the various parts of the departments in the company to talk on the technical side if you have any questions about production and so on. So, first thing you're going to do is you're going to see our video which explains about that manufacturing process from start to finish. Once that's done, I'm going to be asking you to go to the tent just on the other side of the yard to talk to our experts and see some examples of our production output. Then, at your own time, just come across the yard again, into the door that's right here. This is the museum. Look around in there for as long as you like. And we will be making at about 10-minute intervals calls to go to the raw sugar shed. If you are finished in there, just join the tour. If you want to look a little bit more in the museum, well, just stay there. Next group's going in 10 minutes. When you're ready, we'll take you to the raw sugar shed. But remember, once you get down there, there's no backtracking. All right? One more thing, as I said, the washrooms for the ladies are in the museum. The washrooms for the guys are the porta potties. All right, so here goes the video. If I've got it set up right, we should be off and running.
Like many before and many to come, this ship has traveled thousands of kilometers from the distant countries. In its hold is a cargo soon to be transformed into a product that was once considered as precious as gold, but is now so familiar that we give it very little thought. That product is sugar. The cargo is raw sugar, and it's here at the Red Path plant in Toronto that it will be turned into food-grade sugar. But before we look at how sugar is crafted, let's go back to where this ship began its journey and see where raw sugar comes from. There are many different types of sugar. There is fructose, glucose, invertose, maltose, lactose, and others. But the sugar we know best is called sucrose. Sucrose is a carbohydrate that all plant life produces as food for itself through a natural process called photosynthesis. Although all plants make some sucrose, only sugar beet and sugar cane produce enough for large-scale commercial production. At Red Path, we use raw sugar extracted from sugar cane, a grass-like plant that can grow to heights of almost 5 meters. Because it requires lots of sunshine and heat, sugar cane grows best in the hot tropical regions of the world that lie on either side of the equator. It is grown on large farms called plantations. An acre of ground produces about 50 tons of cane that will yield 5 to 8 tons of raw sugar. When fully grown, the cane is ready for harvesting. Historically, the stalks were set on fire and then cut down by hand. But today, mechanical harvesting is increasingly being used. The harvested cane stalks are transported to a nearby cane mill where they are shredded and crushed between huge rollers to extract as much juice as possible. Time is critical here. From the moment the cane is cut down, the sugar inside begins to biodegrade and will lose half of its sucrose content within 24 hours if not stabilized. The extracted juice is filtered and boiled, creating crystals of white sucrose covered with a thin layer of natural molasses, waxes, and ash. This is called raw sugar and is sold on the world market for further processing. It's from this world market that Redpath buys its supply of raw sugar. A team of experienced traders arranges the purchase and timely delivery of the raw sugar to the plant. This raw sugar can come from many different parts of the world and is transported by ships across the oceans to Canada. As the ships make their way through the St. Lawrence Seaway to Lake Ontario, they pass Montreal. It was there in 1854 that businessman and philanthropist John Redpath built Canada's first sugar plant. The Redpath logo is taken from his signature and is the oldest Canadian food trademark in Canada. The Redpath sugar label soon became one of the most recognized and popular brands in the country. The opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1959 created an opportunity to service the growing markets of North America from within the Great Lakes system. The Toronto plant was the first industrial facility constructed to coincide with the opening of the Seaway. In 1980, our operations were consolidated at the Toronto plant. Situated on a 10.5-acre site on the waterfront, its operations are among the most up-to-date, efficient, and environmentally responsible in North America. Once the ship arrives at the dock and is safely moored, unloading begins. Large cranes with mechanical buckets scoop up almost 3 tons of sugar with every bite. Carried along by conveyor belts, the raw sugar is weighed and then dropped into the raw sugar shed. This huge storage area has a floor as big as 2 football fields and can hold up to 65,000 tons of raw sugar. Although this raw sugar is of a high quality, it still contains impurities and waste material from harvesting and transportation, and is not fit for human consumption. The sugar crafting process is designed to remove all of these unwanted impurities, leaving only pure natural sucrose as the end product. Our work begins with the weighing of the raw sugar into exact batches on large scales. It is then dropped into a mixing trough called a mingler. Here, the raw sugar is blended with a mixture of molasses and warm water called affination syrup. This blending produces a thick, dark brown mixture called magma, because it looks like the magma from a volcano. As it leaves the mingler, the magma is fed into what look like oversized washing machines called affination centrifugals. The magma is spun at a high speed, while a fine spray of hot water rinses away the molasses from the sugar crystals underneath. A fine mesh lining the basket traps the solid crystals of washed raw sugar, while allowing the liquid part of the magma to be spun out. Although this washed raw sugar is cleaner than it was, it's still not good enough to satisfy government food standards. More work needs to be done. So the washed raw sugar is melted into a liquid by mixing it with hot water and steam. The result is a thick, dark brown syrup called washed sugar liquor, which is then filtered through a strainer to remove as many of the larger solid impurities as possible. This is just some of the debris collected from an average cargo of raw sugar. The microscopic impurities that remain in the liquor are removed in 2 stages. The first is carbonation, in which calcium carbonate, or as it's commonly known, chalk, is mixed with the washed sugar liquor in large tanks. The chalk floats as particles suspended in the solution and attach themselves to the microscopic solids. This makes them bigger and easier to remove in the next stage, the Sweetland presses. The Sweetland presses consist of a series of fine cloth filters fitted over circular metal frames. When the carbonatated liquor is passed through the presses under pressure, the enlarged solids are trapped by the cloth filters, while the liquor passes straight through completely free of all solid impurities. Over time, the filters become clogged by the accumulated chalk and must be flushed out. The wash water from this flushing is then put through a second set of filters to recycle any sugar left in it. The remaining clay, or mud, is also recycled as an agricultural byproduct. Nothing is wasted. At this point, the liquor contains no solid impurities, but a yellowish tinge of waxes and resins still remain. By the time it reaches the liquor gallery, these trace impurities have been removed through the use of special filters. What emerges is a clear, colorless, fine liquor containing nothing but sugar and water, no chemicals and no preservatives, just purified sucrose and water. Over the course of the refining process, the liquor has undergone a dramatic color change, from dark brown to pale yellow to crystal clear. The purified liquor is turned back into crystals in large vacuum pans. Here, the liquor is boiled under low air pressure to prevent the sugar from burning or caramelizing. As the water content evaporates, it leaves behind a thickened, supersaturated syrup. Into this, a small quantity of fine sugar crystals is added. Each of these crystals acts as a nucleus around which the sugar in the pan sticks, creating crystal layers that enlarge as the boiling continues. Once the boiling is complete, what remains in the pan is known as a strike of white mass wheat, made up of recrystallized sugar, liquefied sugar syrup, and water. These liquids are separated from the crystals in the white sugar centrifugals. The mass wheat spins faster and faster until the liquids are spun out, leaving behind the crystals of natural white sucrose. The extracted syrups are recycled back into the vacuum pans to be boiled again, to recover as much sugar as possible from the original product. The damp white sucrose crystals are then dried in huge tumble dryers called granulators. The finished raw sugar is now ready. The crystals are sorted into uniform sizes by vibrating screens before being sent to packaging. From start to finish, the entire process is carefully controlled and monitored from a central control room, which acts as the nerve center for the entire plant. At each stage of the process, samples are taken regularly from each machine and tested in the company laboratory to ensure strict quality control. With the sugar crafting process complete, now begins the packaging and delivery of the finished product to Red Pack's many customers. On the packaging line, machines automatically dispense set quantities of sugar into different sizes and types of bags. The bags are then wrapped, bundled, and boxed, and transferred by conveyor belt into the warehouse. Here they are collected and loaded onto pallets for ease of storage and handling. Until they're ready for loading onto trucks for delivery to the customer. The wide variety of packaged products that we make at Red Pack represents only a portion of our overall sales. Most of the sugar produced is sold in bulk and never goes into a package at all. Instead, it's loaded into special tankers that deliver granular or liquid varieties of sugar to a wide range of industrial and commercial customers. These customers, in turn, use sugar and its associated products in a multitude of foods and beverages. There's a lot involved in transforming raw sugar into a pure food, and it's also for you an important source of food energy that your body needs as part of a healthy, balanced diet. Sugar, one of nature's best sources of food energy, and Red Path is working day and night to ensure that nature's best comes to you in its purest form.
All right, folks, so there we are. That's the manufacturing run, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, if you have any questions about any of those parts, talk to the experts in the tent, then into the museum. Stay there until such time as we call for the tours. Please remember that we cannot have people wandering around individually. You have to go out as a group. All right? So if you'd like to just head over to the tent on the other side. And thanks for making Red Path part of your Doors Open experience this weekend.
Thank you. Can you talk about this stuff over here?
Well, that is basically the old way of making sugar with the sugar cones. And basically, that's all in the museum. So if you'd like to go and do that, and I'll join you in the museum when you get there, and I'll explain all about it. So we just got another group just coming up. Yes, you can pick up a leaflet on that. Hold on a second, folks. Those going out, go. Those coming in, wait a second, so they all get out the way. All right, folks,
Going to be at like waterfront festival. What's the percentage of that?
I mean, because there's such a massive amount of vegetables and stuff processed to make oils and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's going to be a wax content.
Yeah, okay.
So we're very small.
It's very small, yeah. And in the end, it ends up in here.